Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got an interesting one for you. I'm going to be talking about overrated Commander staples that you need to replace right now. Let's jump into it. So first up, and hold your horses on the comments really quick, and hear me out on the explanation, okay? Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves, in my opinion, is overplayed in Commander. In casual Commander, I would say. A 1/1 Elf Druid for a single green mana, and it taps to add a green. This is a great low-to-the-ground ramp source, absolutely. It's also incredible for Elf decks. And with Llanowar Elves, I will say that I'm utilizing this as like a placeholder for all the elves that basically do the exact same thing at the exact same cost. There's a lot of them out there. Here's the thing. It is also a mana dork, which in my opinion is the weakest, I would say, when it comes to survivability, when it comes to mana sources, and when it comes to mana sources in Commander with longer games. You want those pieces survivable. Again, when it comes to the hierarchy of like, okay, survivability, you got lands, because lands are like a protected thing in Commander for the most part. Again, mass land destruction is not a thing in casual Commander. Then you've got mana rocks, and then you've got, well, these, basically. So you got mana dorks. Here's the thing with that, you want those pieces protected. Llanowar Elves is not a protected piece. Is it an amazing low-to-the-ground resource? Absolutely. Is it more so a resource for competitive Commander? In my opinion, yes. CEDH is really the place where this shines because those are quicker games. They do not utilize a lot of creature board wipes, essentially. Versus in casual, there's a lot of creature board wipes going on. So therefore, if you are investing heavily in mana dorks as your resource, and you can have some decks that do that, obviously, that play into that in different ways, essentially. But if you just have a regular deck that's like, oh yeah, a lot of my things are mana dorks, and then they get blown up, and you're like, oh no, I'm behind. Here are some, in my opinion, better alternatives for the vast majority of Commander decks out there. Again, casual decks. Wild Growth, a great one. Enchanted land for a single green mana. Basically lets that land tap for an additional green mana. Again, attaching it to a land typically is going to survive longer than Llanowar Elves, which is a tiny little creature that can get taken out in a multitude of ways, essentially. Again, any kind of a Wrath of God effect will take them out. Wild Growth, though, the vast majority of decks out there are not running mass land destruction in casual. Basically, none in casual are running land destruction, mass land destruction. And again, when it comes to, targeted land destruction, there aren't that many cards that are doing that in casual anyways. Utopia Sprawl, another great example as well. Enchant a forest, if you specifically have a good amount of forest, comes into play, choose a color. That forest has traditional color. Again, I'm not saying Llanowar Elves is a terrible card for the right deck. Again, great for elf decks, great for decks that can really do a lot of cool things with mana dorks, and also for competitive, where, that's mass creature destruction spells aren't utilized. But for the most part, again, it is going to be a weaker card than other ones that are more protected because, again, of casual Commander's rules. Moving on, Commander's Sphere, a card that saw, a ton of printings and a lot of Commander precons, and because of that, it sees an absurd amount of play compared to what it is. It's an artifact for 3, it taps to add 1 mana of any color in your Commander's color identity, and you can sacrifice to draw a card. Both are nice things, however, the cost of it, again, is 3. And typically, I would say, again, the vast majority of Commander decks out there, unless you're just chucking like 50, mana rocks into a deck, like, you might do for, certain Commanders out there. Not very many, but certain ones, yes, like Memnarch, etc., etc. This one, essentially, is a card that does see more play than it should because it's not efficient. When it comes to the cost of a mana rock that you're hoping to pay, or kind of any kind of a ramp source, basically outside of Sol Ring, which is busted, broken, and probably bannable, it should be basically, you pay 2, you get 1 back. You pay 4, you get 2 back. Basically, you get half the amount of mana back that you put into it, for the most part. Again, that's like the general assumption. And especially, again, those low-to-the-ground ones are very important. Again, if someone else ramps before you, they're going to be ahead of you. So you rather have those mana rocks that cost 2 in tap for 1. Even if, again, you don't get that, I get to draw a card by sacrificing this. Even if I don't get to, you're planning ahead for a situation where it's not planning for the best results, basically. This is planning for, later in the game, what if I'm stuck and I need to draw a card? It's nice that you can sacrifice to draw a card, but I would rather be ramping earlier. Again, and also when it comes to, obviously I can bring up, Arcane Signet as a better card. It definitely is. Everyone knows that, basically. But when it comes to the other ones, obviously you've got all of the I mean, all the, like, the guild cards, basically. You've got all the ones that can, oh, it filters my mana. Oh, you know, it can tap for one of two colors. Oh, it's a signets, that kind of stuff as well. But also, even one like Cold Steel Heart, in my opinion, is better than Commander Sphere. Cost 2, enters tapped, as enters to the color, add 1 mana of the chosen color. Again, does it tap for every single one of your colors? No, not all the time, but it comes down earlier than Commander Sphere does. You get to ramp earlier, you get things out there quicker, and again, it can help you fix your mana absolutely as well. So, again, when it comes to this card, yes, it does some nice things for you. Again, players like that safety of like, oh, well, if I'm stuck, I get to draw a card. You need to kind of edge yourself out of that state. Just decide that, you know what, you're going to be away from that safety, you know, a little bit. You know, you're okay moving away from that safety of the Commander Sphere and go with quicker ramp cards, essentially, instead, to actually plan for a victory, to plan to go and be ahead of your opponents and to be doing the things that your deck wants to do. Next up, it's kind of sad to say, but Read the Bones. It is a card that has been outclassed as of late. It is a great card. It is. And again, if you have, again, say, a mono black deck, and you're now picking through your cards like, okay, this is a good, this is a good, this is good, this is good, this is good, all these good draw spells, it still might make the cut, absolutely. But it is one of those cards that is slowly, kind of like Divination at one point, literally just got like, oh, it's a better printing of it essentially now these days, where there's like an instant speed version of it. There are better versions of this that do basically the exact same thing, but better. Sorcery for 3 mana in black, scry 2, draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life. And when it comes to that, it kind of got outclassed like right away when another card was printed, and yet this sees a lot more play than Dire Sight. A source for 3 mana in black, surveil 2, draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life. Again, very small difference. Surveil versus Scry, but Surveil 99 times out of 100 is going to be better than Scry. Scry is putting things on the bottom of your library, and unless you're playing a Grenzo Dungeon Warden deck where you care about the bottom of your library, yeah, you probably care about your graveyard a bit more. Again, if you have any kind of recursion spells, if you have any reanimation spells, if you've got any kind of flashback cards, anything that has to do with your graveyard, essentially, Threshold, there you go. You are going to be better benefited by having cards in your graveyard than on the bottom of your library, because they are a lot more accessible in your graveyard, and they can have other functions potentially as well. We also recently got Risky Research too, which does the exact same thing. Again, so we are getting more and more printings basically of a superior version to Read the Bones, and yet Read the Bones still sees a ton of play. I'm not saying it's bad, and again, there are decks that can utilize the Scry better than Surveil, but the vast majority of decks out there, at the very least, if you're not running both, you should be running Dire Sight or Risky Research over Read the Bones. Next up, I am going to keep saying it until it happens, but Solemn Simulacrum, yet another card that, in my opinion, is overrated. A 2/2 Golem for 4 mana in colorless, in generic mana, I guess. When it enters the battlefield, you may search life for a basic land card with that card on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. When it dies, you may draw a card. Here's the thing. Again, this is kind of like Commander Sphere-esque, essentially, in its play. It is probably better than Commander Sphere, like, in some ways. Like, again, when it comes to the ramp, we already talked about with Llanowar Elves, right? Okay, land ramp equals good. Yes, land ramp does equal good. Absolutely it does. That doesn't mean that you prioritize inefficiency over, again, the better resource, I guess I would say sometimes, okay? When it comes to, like, this amount of mana. There are certain decks that can utilize this. Again, blank decks, absolutely. Ones that can recur this, get it back out. You know, artifact creature specific decks, death trigger decks, etc. Yes, absolutely. There are things that you can take advantage of with this. It is still overplayed. It is a card that, again, players just default to sometimes go, oh, yeah, well, put Sad Robot in the deck and there you go. There's your 10th piece of ramp. / oh, yeah, because it gives you the card draw. The extra little card draw is nice, absolutely, and, you know, it can be a nice little blocker for you, or, you know, you can politic with someone else, I'm like, hey, block this so I can draw a card, please, okay? Yes, it can benefit you, absolutely, but there are players out there that prioritize this over much more efficient ramp. Again, when it comes to ramp, in my opinion, you want to be ramping on turn 2. This is turn 4. This is far too late to ramp for the vast majority of decks out there, unless it's just like an additional piece of ramp that you get because you have extra, you know, benefits. Again, if that's doubling up on a trigger, if that is doubling up the death trigger, the ETB, whatever it's going to be, okay? That being said, there are better ones out there. I mean, I see players playing this over Wayfarer's Bauble. Okay, come on, everyone. First up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. Artifact for 1, pay 2, tap, sacrifice, go get a base land, with battlefield tap, then shuffle. Again, yes, I understand that there are very few ways in just any deck outside of green to lane ramp. There are very few ways to do that. That doesn't mean that we say, okay, let's utilize one that costs 4 to do so and only ramps us by 1, okay? Unless you've got, again, a reason that it works in the deck, please, 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 just stop defaulting to Sad Robot. It's really cool. It's a cool card, right? Sad Robot. It's just iconic in Commander as well. That being said, the extra card draw when it dies does not make up for its inefficiency compared to other cards out there. You want to be ramping earlier, ramping more effectively. Moving on, let's talk about Putrefy, an instant for 3 mana Ingolgard. Destroy target artifact or creature. It can't be regenerated. I mean, again, it had its time and place, and yes, it is a very budget-friendly card. It absolutely is. And as a budget player, I, of course, am very budget-conscious of the cards that I'm recommending as well. It's not like I'm like, well, Putrefy is nice, but, well, this other card that costs $20 is so much better. Not saying that. I am saying that this card is, well, nice, but Terra Sunder is so much better, it's not even close, in my opinion, and also, it's just better. It's more flexible. It most of the time costs you less mana. Instant for 2 mana in green. It's got kicker for an extra 2 mana in black. Exile target artifact or enchantment. The spell is kicked. Exile target non-land permanent instead. Putrefy can deal with one of two things. And again, it's destroy and sure, can't be regenerated, which almost never comes into play. This is exiling, meaning that that thing is gone forever, which is great. And also, again, this can hit technically anything except for a land if you kick it. Sure, again, if you get rid of an artifact or enchantment, this is just 2 mana. But, oh, if I had to get a creature, okay, that's an extra mana on top of Putrefy. Sure, but Putrefy can't deal with an enchantment. It also can't deal with a Planeswalker. It can't deal with a lot of things that Terra Sunder can deal with. This is more flexible. It's lower to the ground the vast majority of the time. And again, it permanently gets rid of things. Players just default to Putrefy because it's like a mainstay in Commander. And again, you see it in those, oh, this is in the top 100, Commander cards of all time. Yeah, but there's better cards these days, in my opinion, and Terra Sunder is most definitely one of them. Pick it up, try it out. I'm sorry, Putrefy. I'm sorry, but your time has come and gone. There are better cards, and even Assassin Trophy these days is is not cheaper than you are, but under $1 too. So I could recommend that one as well. Although I think that one sees more play. Regardless, Putrefy, I'm sorry. And you might have guessed it, but on the other end of things, Mortify. Instant for 3 mana, and or short target creature or enchantment. Again, in my opinion, yeah, there are just better removal spells out there. In general, when it comes to removal spells too, I typically like to say, okay, I've got these ones that are more efficient when it comes to getting rid of creatures, again, especially in white, like Swords of Plowshares, Path to Exile, sure, okay, for the creature ones, or Wraths as well. And then when it comes to artifacts and enchantments, use ones that are more efficient at getting rid of artifacts and enchantments, typically, okay? It just typically works better, in my opinion, instead of utilizing one that is just less efficient than it needs to be. Again, as a replacement for this one, Fracture, okay? Like this one, an instant for 2 mana and Orzhov, 1 mana less, artifact, enchantment, or Planeswalker. Again, sure, this one does not get rid of creatures, okay? Again, I already talked about utilizing, again, other spells to get rid of creatures, if you need to. Or Fracture, again, hey, artifacts, enchantments, and also, sure, the occasional Planeswalker getting rid of one is quite nice with this kind of a card. I know that there's players out there that are very dedicated to Mortify and Putrefy, but in my opinion, there are just better cards out there for the either same thing or adjacent thing, essentially. And again, you can adjust your deck around your removal, basically, to make sure that you can get rid of all those types of things in an efficient, effective, and budget-friendly way, yes. Next up, Unbreakable Formation. Well, I'm breaking you. Okay, that was bad. Instant for 3 mana in white. Creature control get indestructible until end of turn. If you cast spell during your main phase, put a counter on each of those creatures, they gain vigilance until end of turn. That is there are very specific decks out there that would prefer this over other cards. However, there are other cards out there that, in my opinion, are just strictly better than this one for the vast majority of decks out there. Again, when it comes to protecting your entire team, I mean, okay, Heroic Intervention, those subs cards, yeah, those are expensive. Is really expensive, right? Those 2 mana ones are great. That being said, the vast majority of ones out there are at 3, so let's compare to 3. Or how about really quick, actually, there is one at 2 that I would say is better. Duty Beyond Death. Duty Beyond Death is just better, again, than Unbreakable Formation for the vast majority of decks out there. Instant for 2 mana, it just costs to cast it, sacrifice 1 creature. Creature control get indestructible and get a counter on each creature you control. Again, when it comes to these kind of save my team spells, typically, again, you need to think about, all right, how much resources do I need to keep up, all right, to actually utilize these spells? Because for Unbreakable Formation, again, let's say that you're utilizing it again, on a defensive position, okay, like let's say it's on opponent's turn, okay, you need to save your entire team. Someone casts a board wipe. You need 3 mana. So that means that like each turn, if you just like have that in your hand and you're like, oh, okay, I need to make sure that I am, not taking advantage of right now, that like I can save my team. Okay, cool. You need to keep up 3 mana every single trip around the table if you're worried about someone casting a board wipe. With Duty Beyond Death, it's 1 less mana every single time. Sure, you have to lose out on 1 creature. Absolutely, okay. Is that a consideration for decks that are like, well, I only run so many creatures? If you're running like a big board wipe protection spell, typically you have a go wide-ish type strategy. So yeah, you're okay with getting rid of 1 of your creatures to save the rest. This is also just, I mean, again, it's lower to the ground, it's more efficient. It's a very good card. Again, if you're using it in like, if you're using it in the Unbreakable Formation way where it's like, okay, during your main phase, sure, it's better if you're using it in an offensive way because you are pumping your creatures, giving them vigilance, yes. But the vast majority of the time when you are trying to protect your team, it is in a defensive way. You are utilizing a card like this for the most time when it comes to players trying to just destroy your board. So another card that I would recommend over it to is your Temple's Under Attack, which again, in my opinion, the most of the time you're going to get better, you're going to get better advantages of. Instant for 3 mana, creature you control gain indestructible on a turn, or you would target opponent, each draw 2 cards. Again, this is flexible. This is a card that, yes, can protect your team, but again, like, let's say that you're like, okay, we just went 1 troop around the table, no one destroyed the board, okay, and I'm good right now, I need to dig for something else. You can dig for something else. You can politic, you can make a deal with someone else with a card like this. Unbreakable Formation, again, sure, can have that, like, oh, push and pull, like, oh, it helps me on offense, helps me on defense. Yes, but the majority of the time, if you're utilizing a card that is protecting your team, it's typically defensively. It's typically, oh, okay, someone's trying to wipe the board, need to protect my team, okay? So in my opinion, again, one like Duty Bound Death, which is lower to the ground, and one that, again, can be flexible, and you can utilize it still, like right before your turn, your Temple is under attack, and give you card advantage. Those, in my opinion, are better and should see more play. Moving on, Explosive Vegetation. This is just one that keeps just holding on, essentially, and it really shouldn't be because, I mean, we talked about, like, Read the Bones and Dire Sight and how, yes, sure, there are sometimes, very few times, but sometimes that Read the Bones is better, putting things to the bottom, Grenzo Dungeon Warden things. There are just strictly better Explosive Vegetations out there. There really are. Sorcery for 4 mana and green, subscribe for the 2 basic land cards from the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Again, this meets our, like, hey, cost 4 gives you 2 extra mana, right? This does meet that requirement. That being said, they are printing literally strictly better versions of this that see less play. I mean, there is absolutely no reason, unless you've got a deck that somehow cares about the amount of text on a card, I don't know, that you should be running this over Vastwood Surge. Just literally, if you have both options, just go, okay, Explosive Vegetation in this deck, just swap it out. And there you go, your deck is better. Vastwood Surge, Sorcery for 4 mana and green, Kicker for 4, search life for 2 basic lands with battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Exact same thing as Explosive Vegetation. Oh, but by the way, if you kick, you get 2 counters to creature you control. That can be game ending, that can be game winning, and just on a ramp spell. Sure, does that cost a lot of mana to cast all this? Yeah, it costs 8 in total, but you're in green, you've got ramp, you can get there. It's not like, oh, it's not less efficient at all. If you cast it at a base level, it's the exact same thing. So literally just swap it out. Or again, Invasion of Zendikar, same thing basically, right? Where it just costs the exact same amount. When this enters the battlefield, you'll have 2 basic land cards, battlefield tap, then shuffle. Okay, and then if you happen to ever take this siege out, battle out I should say, you flip it over and you get an Awakened Skyclave, which is a 4/4 vigilance and haste. That, as long as the battlefield's a land and you get to tap for 1 mana of extra, it is just basically a ramp 3 spell then at that point. So again, there are spells that are just strictly better than Explosive Vegetation. I'm not saying it's a bad card, and again, if you've got a deck that needs like all the ramp in the world, like a landfall deck, sure, absolutely keep playing it. But if you're playing this over the other two, I disagree with you, and please just upgrade your deck. And again, technically, Vastwood Surge is cheaper budget-wise somehow, all right? It's 19 cents versus 28 cents. Pick it up. I am still just astounded with how much play Temple of the False God sees. Please, 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 unless you're playing a deck that can guarantee that this is active when you play it, again, like a 99 lands deck, basically, or, I mean, I guess there's very few decks that can run a card like this. There are. Land that can tap for 2 colors. Activate this ability only if you control 5 more lands. Yeah, again, the times where this is like, oh man, that really accelerated my game plan. That's awesome. Wow, it's basically playing two lanes at the same time. Great, cool, haha, I'm so far ahead of my opponents. That's great, but also there's times where you're stuck on 4 lands, and this is your 4th land, and you're like, I can only have 3 mana, and I can't do anything. Pass turn. Next turn. Oh, I didn't draw a land. Pass turn. Oh, I didn't draw a land. pass turn. Yeah, you literally are just making it so that you have a lot of no games. You have games that you do absolutely nothing in. Absolutely nothing. It is not worth the risk, everyone. Unless, again, you've got a 99 lands deck when it's like, yeah, okay, I can guarantee when I play this, I've got 5 lands. Cool, good for me. Murgon to Raceway. Strictly better, in my opinion. Strictly better. Start your engines against the whole max speed thing, right? Tap for a colorless, or max speed, tap for 2 colorless. This takes away the downside and gives you that upside as well. Again, sure, right away, you might not be able to just tap for 2 mana, okay? Unlike Temple of False God, which you can. But again, this can be a turn 1 play for you where you still have mana versus Temple of the False God absolutely cannot be played before it's your 5th land to be useful. This is a card that is just strictly better because, again, sure, the ceiling isn't as high. Well, it technically is once, they both are active, essentially, right? But the floor is so much higher than just the lowest seller in the world, basically, right? Temple of the False God, in my opinion, is a terrible card for a lot of decks out there. It still sees way too much play. It is too risky. It leads to too many non-games for you. And when it comes to Commander, right, like everyone just wants you to have a game, right? There aren't players that are rooting for like, oh, I really hope this person doesn't have enough mana and can't play their deck. I mean, casual, I should say. That's not the goal, right? You're trying to actually have a game, and everyone should be having, their deck actually do things. Temple of the False God leads to too many decks that are doing absolutely nothing. Stop playing it, please. And finally, just because I did say earlier, like, hey, okay, again, when it comes to ramping, we almost always want, right, it costs 2 taps for 1, it costs 4 taps for 2, half as much as we get out of it. Hedron Archive is a great card, and again, for certain Commander decks out there, this can still really shine. However, like I mentioned earlier a couple of times too, we really want to focus on lower to the ground ramp. Again, if someone ramps before you, they're going to get ahead of you, and sure, this might have extra flexibility later, again, where you can pay 2 taps, sacrifice, draw 2 cards. That's nice. However, it doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, make up for the impact of lower to the ground resources that can do the same thing, basically. Worn Power Stone as an example. Enters the battlefield, tapped, it costs 3, taps for 2 mana. Colors. This is literally just like a slow Soul Ring. Again, Soul Ring that enters tapped and costs 2 more, but again, that just shows how insane Soul Ring is. And again, if they literally remade the format, and like no one had like an affinity to Soul Ring being like part of the format, it would not be allowed. It would be banned. This is an amazing card, okay? It really is. It's lower to the ground Hedron Archive. Sure, it enters tap, you can't use the mana right away, but again, on your next turn, you can utilize it. You already paid for it. Hedron Archive costs that much on that turn that you play it. This is a card that is lower to the ground. It is more efficient, more effective than Hedron Archive. It doesn't have that, oh, okay, well, like, if I need to later in the game, I can sacrifice it and draw, sure. But its efficiency makes up for that. Again, the vast majority of decks want to ramp quicker, and this is going to help you ramp quicker than Hedron Archive. You can play it a turn earlier. You can't, if you're stuck at 3 mana, okay, like, oh, okay, I can play it on, if I'm stuck at 3 mana, I can play it for 3. Hedron Archive, if you're stuck at 3 mana, you're still stuck, and you can't play it. This is a card that is just more efficient, more effective. Again, when it comes to ramping, you really, really, really want to prioritize efficiency, all right? Prioritize efficiency over the flexibility, okay, when you can. Hedron Archive, again, a good card. There are certain decks out there that will use it still. Again, decks that utilize a lot of mana rocks, a ton of mana rocks, maybe ones that have cost reduction for mana rocks too, potentially, but or mana rocks specifically, but, artifacts. There are still cases to utilize it, but again, War Power Stone, in my opinion, should be seeing a lot more play than this one. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support.